YouTube, Dailymotion, Facebook, and Tumblr fans. How's it going, everyone? This is Midnight Strike 3625, back again to welcome you to another episode of Versus. And much like last week, we're going to take this into a musical direction, albeit going in a little bit more of a hard rock vibe by analyzing the band Guns N' Roses, specifically their two albums, Use Your Illusion 1 and Use Your Illusion 2. Both of these albums were released in 1991, respectively, and were supposed to be Guns N' Roses' climax, their magnum opus, their grand finale, their really grand-scale production, their absolute best. However, it didn't turn out that way, and it lived in the shadow of their debut, Appetite for Destruction, at least in my opinion. Now, it wasn't supposed to come out that way. The events were supposed to unfold in a completely different manner, in a completely different fashion. However, all of Axl Rose's band members either deserted him or he fired them all. So, basically, he turned into Scumbag Axl. But then again, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about specifically which one of these two albums you guys and myself like better and enjoy more. So I'm going to start off by saying my favorite song by Guns N' Roses is a little number entitled Estranged, and it is 9 minutes and 20 seconds long. I actually had to check the length on that one because I wasn't exactly sure on the exact length, but it is my favorite song by Guns N' Roses of all time, just simply for its progressive nature and for everything that's incorporated, from the grand scale production, from the epic feel about, roughly 3/4 of the way through the song, as well as the placement of the piano and every single other instrument. The music video is actually not that bad either, so it's a really good song overall, and I really love it, and it is on Use Your Illusion Part 2. However, between these two albums, I would actually have to go with Use Your Illusion Part 1. Now, let me elaborate. Use Your Illusion Part 1 was released a few months before Use Your Illusion Part 2, and it was the yellow and orange and red album, as opposed to the blue and purple. So, this one had 16 tracks, and I believe Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion Part 2 only had about 13 or something. So already it was a bigger compilation of songs that dated all the way back from the 1980s. So all of these songs had a lot of history behind them, but this one just sounds a lot more like the bluesy, hard rock, edgy kind of Guns N' Roses that we all know and love from Appetite for Destruction. So this one sounds a little bit more in the vein of Appetite for Destruction than the progressive Use Your Illusion Part 2. Now, that's not to say that there are no progressive songs on Use Your Illusion 1, but it's just, for the most part, there aren't really that much. So Coma is a very progressive song, however, it's not really one of my favorites on the album. My favorites for progressive songs would have to go to 14 Years, Civil War, and of course Estranged, which is my favorite song of all time by Guns N' Roses. My favorite album, however, Appetite for Destruction, as pretty much everyone else's, I suppose, that I've heard of. But when it comes down to why I don't really like Use Your Illusion Part 2, like I said in the last verses where I talked about Axl Rose, no, we really don't want to step into your world. That should really be enough to kind of tip the scale. I mean, I'm rating all these songs on Windows Movie Maker or Windows Media Player. Windows Media Player, and I couldn't rate My World more than 1 star. That is sad. I mean, if not for My World, this would be a decent album. This would be a very good effort. However, I know I can just delete the song. I know I can just discredit it or discount it, discard it because it's at the end. Thank God it's at the end. But it still ruins the flow. It's very jarring at the end, and it's just, a lot of the songs that are progressive on this album seem to go nowhere. Like Locomotive, as much as I really love that song, really love the riff, really love where it's going, it seems to be drawn out. It seems to be too drawn out. It seems to be going nowhere. Of course, there's the progressive song on Use Your Illusion Part 1, November Rain. That one's one of their longer ones, but it's one of their most famous songs. And I forgot to mention it earlier, but it's also one of my favorites as well. So, basically, I like Use Your Illusion Part 1 better. And that is simply because it, to me, sounds more like Guns N' Roses should sound like, or at least what they should sound like as a band as a whole without getting too technical in the progressive realm of progressive rock, hard rock, and all that stuff. But basically, I do like their progressive side as well, but just not as much. I mean, there are some, balls to the wall, bluesy hard rock songs on Use Your Illusion Part 2, such as You Could Be Mine, but that one was released for a Terminator soundtrack. That one was written all the way back in the Appetite for Destruction days, so of course it's going to be like Appetite for Destruction. Of course it's going to feel more right at home at Use Your Illusion Part 1. I wish they would have put all the progressive tracks on Use Your Illusion Part 2 or 1, and then all the bluesy, hard rock, kick-ass tracks on Use Your Illusion Part 1 or whatever. I wish they would have separated it out, personally. That would have kind of definitely helped with the flow. It would have definitely helped with their image. It would have definitely helped with some of the fighting that was going on internally with the band themselves. I mean, just let Axl do his own thing, and then you guys can write all your stuff. I mean, with Slash and Duff and Izzy and Matt Sorum, because Steven Adler wasn't in the band at the time. But for me, the soul spirit of Guns N' Roses, when it comes to these two Use Your Illusion albums, is in the first one. Now, that's not to say that it's better than Appetite. Of course, like I said before, I like Appetite better than pretty much everything that Guns N' Roses has put out since then. Maybe GN'R Lies kind of comes close, and maybe Use Your Illusion Part 1 to an extent. But when it comes down to it, Appetite for Destruction just blows everything else out of the water. That's pretty much the sole album that they're known for. So, what do you guys think? Which Use Your Illusion do you like better? Do you like the compilation better with both songs or parts of each album kind of combined into one? The Use Your Illusion compilation. Now, that's kind of a tongue twister. But which one do you like better? Let me know in the comments section below. And this is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.